Who do you think you are to shake my hand? Nathan's voice booms with mocking laughter, cutting through the opulence of a Chicago gala as crystal chandeliers gleam, his tall frame dismissing Maya with a scornful grin. Maya, a black woman, stands with an elegant yet defiant outstretched hand, igniting a firestorm that threatens a $10 billion tech empire. In this glittering elite world, her underestimated presence holds the fate of a corporate giant. What hidden strength fuels her unwavering gaze? Could a devastating reckoning loom for the arrogant Nathan? Shadows of ambition and betrayal swirl, hinting at secrets that could shatter everything. Is there more to Maya than meets the eye? Subscribe to our channel for the latest videos and drop your city in the comments to join the journey. Can one moment of arrogance topple a dynasty? Stay tuned to uncover how this explosive clash reshapes ambition and respect. The Chicago skyline glittered like a crown of steel and glass, its towers piercing the dawn sky as the city hummed with ambition. Beneath the surface of this restless metropolis, where deals were struck in penthouses and dreams were forged in boardrooms, one woman moved like a shadow, her power unseen yet seismic. Her name was Maya Thompson, a black woman whose brilliance was matched only by her resolve to stay out of the spotlight. A financial genius with a PhD from the University of Chicago, Maya had built a reputation not on fame, but on results. Her mind, sharp as the wind cutting through the loop, had reshaped industries from behind closed doors. And now her sights were set on a venture that could redefine the future. Skyline Innovations, a green tech startup poised to revolutionize energy with a $10 billion dream. Maya's office was a stark contrast to the city's ostentatious wealth. Tucked in a modest corner of a high-rise, it was a sanctuary of simplicity. A polished wood desk, a single fern in a clay pot, and a window framing the frenetic pulse of Chicago below. Papers stacked neatly beside her laptop bore the logo of Eclipse Partners, the venture capital firm she had founded a decade ago. Through it, she wielded silent influence, pouring her intellect and resources into ventures that others merely dreamed of. Her latest move? A $5 billion investment, half the lifeblood of Skyline Innovations, channeled anonymously to keep her name out of the headlines. She didn't need board seats or public praise. She required impact. Let the work speak, she'd always said, a mantra born from years of navigating a world that often looked past her. The morning sun cast long shadows as Maya stepped out of a sleek black sedan, her tailored coat catching the breeze. Her presence was commanding, yet understated, her dark eyes scanning the towering glass facade of the building that housed Skyline Innovations. She adjusted her scarf, her breath visible in the crisp air, and strode toward the entrance. The lobby was a cathedral of marble and chrome, buzzing with suited professionals, clutching coffee cups and ambition. As Maya crossed the threshold, a security guard, his badge gleaming, glanced up from his desk. His eyes lingered a beat too long, assessing her with a flicker of assumption. "Delivery entrance is around back," he said, his tone clipped, pointing toward a service door. Maya paused, her lips curving into a faint, knowing smile. She'd faced this before, countless times. The world had a way of seeing her skin before her credentials, her gender before her genius. "I have a meeting on the 40th floor," she replied, her voice calm but edged with steel, each word deliberate. The guard blinked, caught off guard, and mumbled an apology as he waved her through. She didn't linger on the moment. She never did. But it was filed away, a quiet note in the ledger of her mind. She stepped into the elevator, the doors closing with a soft chime, and ascended to the world where power was negotiated. Inside her office, Maya settled at her desk, the city sprawling beyond her window like a chessboard waiting for her next move. Her laptop screen glowed with financial models, each number a testament to her meticulous strategy. Skyline Innovations wasn't just another investment. It was a vision to bring clean energy to communities long ignored, a cause that resonated with her roots. Growing up in a working-class neighborhood on Chicago's South Side, Maya had learned early that power wasn't always loud or flashy. It was in the quiet calculations, the unseen moves that shifted the board. Her mother, a school teacher, had taught her to read balance sheets as carefully as novels, to see the stories numbers told. That lesson had carried her through the ivy-covered halls of academia and into the cutthroat world of venture capital. As she reviewed the latest reports on Skyline, her phone buzzed with a message from her team, a reminder of the gala tonight where she'd meet the company's CEO. She hadn't planned to attend. Public events were rarely her stage, but curiosity about the man leading her investment pulled her in. The CEO, a figure known for his charisma and ruthless ambition, was a wild card. Maya's fingers hovered over her keyboard, a faint smile tugging at her lips. She wasn't here to play games. She was here to shape the future. The city outside her window pulsed with life, a reminder of the stakes at play. Chicago wasn't just a backdrop. It was a character in her story, a place of grit and glamour where dreams could soar or crash. Maya leaned back in her chair, her gaze steady. She wasn't invisible because she chose to hide. She was invisible because the world hadn't learned to see her yet. But that was about to change. Hey, if you're caught up in this story, hit that subscribe button to catch our latest videos and drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far this tale travels. What's brewing in this Chicago power play? Stick with us to find out. The chandeliered ballroom of Chicago's grandest hotel sparkled like a constellation, its golden light bouncing off crystal flutes and tailored suits. The air thrummed with the clink of glasses and the low murmur of power brokers sealing deals over champagne. Tonight's gala was a spectacle of wealth and ambition, a stage where Chicago's elite showcased their influence and power. At its heart stood Maya Thompson, a figure of quiet elegance in a deep sapphire dress that hugged her frame with understated grace. Her presence was a deliberate choice, a rare step into the spotlight to meet the man steering her $5 billion investment in Skyline Innovations. Yet as she moved through the crowd, her dark eyes, sharp and observant, she felt the familiar weight of unseen glances, the kind that measured her before knowing her. Nathan Brooks, the CEO of Skyline Innovations, held court near the center of the room. A white man in his late 30s, he exuded the polished charm of a politician and the swagger of a rock star. His tailored tuxedo and easy grin made him the evening's gravitational pull, drawing investors, journalists, and sycophants into his orbit. His voice carried over the crowd, boasting about Skyline's vision to redefine energy for the future, each word dripping with self-assured bravado. Maya watched him from a distance, her expression unreadable as she sipped sparkling water from a delicate glass. She wasn't here to compete for attention. She was here to assess the man entrusted with her capital. As she approached, the crowd parted slightly, their eyes flickering with curiosity. Nathan stood flanked by two investors, both white men in crisp suits, their laughter loud and performative. Maya extended her hand, her posture poised, her smile professional but warm. "Mr. Brooks, I'm with Eclipse Partners," she said, her voice clear, cutting through the din. Nathan's eyes flicked toward her, a fleeting glance that carried a hint of dismissal. He paused, his lips curling into a half smirk, and said, "Sorry, I'm only talking to the big players tonight." Without a handshake, he turned back to the men beside him, his laughter resuming as if she'd never spoken. The sting was subtle but sharp, a blade wrapped in velvet. The investors exchanged uneasy glances, one shifting his weight, the other clearing his throat, but neither spoke up. Maya's hand lingered in the air for a moment before she lowered it, her face a mask of calm. Inside, her mind was a storm of calculations, not of anger, but of strategy. She'd faced this before. Men like Nathan who saw her as an outsider, a non-entity in their gilded world. The room seemed to hold its breath, the moment frozen under the chandeliers. Nearby, a young server, a black woman with a tray of hors d'oeuvres, caught Maya's eye. Her expression mirrored Maya's own, a quiet understanding of the slight, the kind that cut deeper than words. The server's phone, tucked discreetly in her apron, recorded the exchange, her fingers swift as she uploaded the clip to a social media platform, the video time-stamped by the hotel's security cameras. Maya stepped back, blending into the crowd, her sapphire dress a shadow among the glittering throng. She pulled out her phone, her fingers moving with purpose as she typed a single message to her team at Eclipse Partners. "Prepare the withdrawal documents. We may need them." Her heart beat steadily, not with rage but with resolve. She wasn't here to make a scene. She was here to protect her vision. The gala swirled around her, laughter, clinking glasses, and whispered deals. But Maya was already elsewhere, her mind mapping the chessboard of power. Nathan's snub wasn't just personal, it was a miscalculation, one that could cost him everything. The server, unnoticed by the elite, slipped through the crowd, her phone buzzing with notifications as the video began to spread. Comments piled up. Who does this guy think he is? Did he just ignore her like that? The hashtag Naraj Ichinahaz. She flickered to life, a spark waiting to ignite. Maya, unaware of the brewing storm, stood by a floor-to-ceiling window, the Chicago skyline stretching before her like a promise. The city's lights pulsed in rhythm with her thoughts, each one a reminder of the stakes. She'd poured $5 billion into skyline innovations not for glory, but for impact, to bring clean energy to communities like the one she'd grown up in. Nathan's arrogance was a variable she hadn't accounted for, but she was no stranger to rewriting equations. As the gala's energy peaked, Maya glanced back at Nathan, still holding court, oblivious to the fault line he'd just cracked open. His laughter rang out, a sound that would soon haunt him. Maya's lips curved into the faintest of smiles, not of triumph, but of certainty. She'd learned long ago that power didn't need to shout, it only needed to act. The city outside glittered, a testament to ambition and consequence. And Maya stood at its edge, ready to shift the balance. If this story's pulling you in, hit that subscribe button to catch our latest drops and let us know your city in the comments. Where's this tale reaching you? What's next for this clash of power and pride? Stay with us to see how it unfolds. The television studio buzzed with electric anticipation, its sleek set bathed in the harsh glow of spotlights. Nathan Brooks, CEO of Skyline Innovations, lounged in a plush chair, his tailored suit crisp, his grin a practiced blend of charm and confidence. The host, a polished woman with a megawatt smile, leaned forward, hanging on his every word. Tell us, Nathan, how does Skyline plan to revolutionize clean energy? She asked, her voice a perfect pitch of admiration. Nathan leaned back, his eyes glinting with self-assured ease. It's my vision, he said, the words rolling off his tongue like a manifesto. A $10 billion game changer that'll light up communities and redefine the future. The audience erupted in applause, but his speech was a carefully curated performance, omitting one critical detail: the $5 billion lifeline from Eclipse Partners. Maya Thompson's name and her influence remained buried in the shadows. Across town, in her modest office overlooking Chicago's restless skyline, Maya sat hunched over her laptop, the faint hum of the city filtering through her window. The television played Nathan's interview on mute, his face filling the screen with a charisma that masked his arrogance. Maya's eyes, however, were locked on a spreadsheet, rows of numbers painting a troubling story. Her fingers danced across the keyboard, cross-referencing financial reports from Skyline Innovations. Then a discrepancy caught her attention. A $1 billion transfer siphoned from the core energy project to an unauthorized venture, a flashy virtual reality app Nathan had championed without board approval. Her jaw tightened, not with surprise but with clarity. Nathan wasn't just reckless, he was betraying the vision she'd bankrolled. She leaned back, the weight of her discovery settling like a storm cloud. The city outside her window pulsed with life, its skyscrapers standing like sentinels of ambition. Maya's office, with its simple desk and lone fern, was a world apart from the glitz of Nathan's studio. Yet it was here, in this quiet space, that she wielded her power. Eclipse Partners wasn't just a firm, it was her weapon, forged through years of outsmarting a system that often underestimated her. She closed her laptop, her mind drifting back to the south side of Chicago, where her story began. The memory was vivid: a cramped apartment, the smell of her mother's coffee, and a dining table covered with financial journals. Maya, barely a teenager, sat poring over them, her mother's voice steady as she said, "Numbers don't lie, Maya. They tell you who's playing fair and who's not." That lesson had carried her through the cutthroat halls of academia and into the elite world of venture capital, where she learned to move like a ghost, unseen but unstoppable. Her reverie was broken by the ping of an email from her team, a preliminary report confirming the unauthorized transfer. Nathan had funneled $1 billion into his pet project, a VR app promising wellness through immersion, without a whisper to the board. Maya's lips pressed into a thin line. She'd invested in Skyline to empower communities, not to fund Nathan's ego-driven whims. Her fingers hovered over her phone, tempted to call an emergency meeting, but she paused. This wasn't a moment for haste. It was a moment for precision. She needed evidence, a plan, and the leverage to act when the time was right. Meanwhile, at Skyline's sleek headquarters, a boardroom meeting was winding down. The room was a fortress of glass and steel, its long table surrounded by executives in tailored suits. Nathan, fresh from his TV appearance, breezed in, his confidence unshaken by the morning's triumph. The discussion turned to funding, and a board member, an older man with a skeptical frown, raised a question about Eclipse Partners. "Who's behind them anyway?" he asked, flipping through a report. Nathan chuckled, waving a hand dismissively. "Just some consultant group. Probably a glorified assistant handling the paperwork." His tone was light, but his words carried a sting, met with a ripple of laughter from a few others. The board member frowned but said nothing, his pen tapping the table. Nathan's assumption hung in the air, unchallenged, a testament to his blind spot. Maya, unaware of the boardroom slight, stood by her office window, the Chicago skyline a mosaic of light and shadow. Her reflection stared back, a woman forged in resilience. Growing up, she'd been the kid teachers overlooked, the intern colleagues dismissed, the black woman whose brilliance was questioned until it couldn't be ignored. Each slight had been a brick in the foundation of her resolve. She remembered a professor once telling her, "You'll have to work twice as hard to be seen half as much." She'd taken that advice and turned it into a blueprint, building Eclipse Partners into a force that could make or break empires. Now Nathan's misstep was a crack in his armor, and Maya was ready to exploit it. The city below churned with ambition, its streets alive with the dreams of those who dared to rise. Maya's gaze lingered on the horizon, where the promise of Skyline's clean energy project had once burned bright. Nathan's betrayal wasn't just a financial misstep, it was a violation of that promise. She turned back to her desk, her resolve hardening. The game was shifting, and she held the pieces that could change it all. If this story's gripping you, smash that subscribe button to stay locked in for our latest videos, and drop your city in the comments. Where's this saga reaching you? What's hiding behind Nathan's flashy facade? Keep watching to uncover the truth. The digital world erupted like a wildfire, untamed and relentless, as a grainy video clip lit up screens across Chicago and beyond. The footage, captured by a hotel security camera, showed a moment frozen in time. A white CEO, his face a mask of smug dismissal, turning away from a black woman whose outstretched hand hung in the air, ignored. The clip, barely 30 seconds long, spread with ferocious speed, shared and reshared across social media platforms. By midday, the hashtag #RushYouWasMayaThompson was trending, a spark that ignited a storm of outrage and curiosity. Comments flooded in, raw and unfiltered. "Who does this guy think he is? She deserves better than that disrespect." The internet, that great equalizer, had taken a single snub and turned it into a public trial, with the CEO of Skyline Innovations in the dock. In her unassuming office, Maya Thompson sat at her desk, the Chicago skyline a restless backdrop through her window. Her laptop screen glowed with the viral video, its view count ticking upward like a heartbeat. She hadn't sought this attention. Fame was never her currency. Yet as she watched the clip loop, her calm demeanor contrasting with Nathan Brooks' casual cruelty, she felt a shift. The world was watching now, and that changed the game. Her phone buzzed incessantly, messages from her team at Eclipse Partners piling up. "The video's everywhere," one read. "We need to talk strategy." Maya's eyes narrowed, not with anger, but with focus. The $5 billion she'd poured into Skyline Innovations was her leverage, and Nathan's arrogance had just handed her a reason to use it. She called an emergency meeting, her voice steady as she summoned her inner circle to a sleek conference room at Eclipse Partners. The space was modern but understated, much like Maya herself. Glass walls, a long oak table, and a single whiteboard scribbled with financial projections. Her team, a tight-knit group of analysts and strategists, gathered quickly. their faces a mix of concern and resolve. "The video's a problem," said Carla, her lead advisor, a woman with a sharp mind and sharper instincts. "It's not just bad optics, it's a signal. If Nathan's this reckless in public, what's he hiding in private?" Maya nodded, her fingers tapping the table. She'd already uncovered his $1 billion diversion to an unapproved VR project, a betrayal of the clean energy vision she'd bankrolled. "We review the withdrawal clause," she said, her tone measured but firm, "but we don't act yet. We need to be surgical." The discussion was intense, voices overlapping as the team debated their next move. Some pushed for immediate action, pull the $5 billion, and let Skyline collapse under its weight. Others urged caution, warning that going public with her identity could shift the narrative away from Nathan's misstep. Maya listened, her silence commanding the room. "I don't need my name in lights," she said finally, her voice cutting through the debate. "I need Nathan to feel the consequences." Her team exchanged glances, recognizing the steel in her words. This wasn't about ego. It was about protecting the mission. Clean energy for communities like the one she'd grown up in. The meeting ended with a plan: gather more evidence, tighten the legal case, and prepare to pull the plug if Nathan's actions warranted it. Outside, the digital firestorm grew fiercer. On social media, the hashtag #OneCharm, who is Maya Thompson, had amassed millions of views with posts dissecting every frame of the video. One comment from an anonymous account with a suspiciously corporate tone stood out. "She's probably just a diversity hire to make the company look good." The words were a jab, subtle but venomous, meant to diminish her presence. Yet the backlash was swift, with users calling out the insinuation, "A diversity hire? She carried herself like she owns the room. Find out who she is. This isn't over." The public's curiosity was a double-edged sword, amplifying Maya's influence while threatening her carefully guarded anonymity. She glanced at the comment, her expression unreadable, and closed her laptop. Let them speculate. Her power didn't need a spotlight. In the streets of Chicago, the city's pulse seemed to quicken with the scandal. Coffee shops buzzed with chatter, office workers huddled over phones, and news outlets began picking up the story. "Who is the mystery woman snubbed by Skyline's CEO?" One headline blared, the question echoing across blogs and talk shows. Nathan, oblivious to the growing storm, was likely basking in the afterglow of his TV appearance, unaware that his flippant dismissal had lit a fuse. The public's questions were sharp, unrelenting. Why did he ignore her? What was he hiding? The city, with its towering skyline and restless ambition, seemed to lean in, waiting for answers. Maya stood by her office window, the evening light casting her reflection against the glass. She was no stranger to being underestimated, but this moment felt different. The world was watching, and Nathan's misstep had given her an opening. Her mind churned, mapping out the days ahead. The $5 billion she controlled wasn't just money, it was a promise to communities forgotten by men like Nathan. She wouldn't let his arrogance derail that. As the city glittered below, Maya's resolve hardened. The fire was spreading, and she would decide how it burned. If this saga's pulling you in, hit that subscribe button to catch our latest drops and share your city in the comments. Where's this story reaching you? What's fueling this growing fire? Stick around to see how it consumes the mighty. The boardroom of Skyline Innovations was a fortress of glass and ambition, its floor-to-ceiling windows framing Chicago's skyline like a trophy. The air was thick with tension, the kind that precedes a storm. Nathan Brooks stood at the head of a polished mahogany table, his tailored suit impeccable, his grin a shield of unshakable confidence. The board members, a dozen men and women in crisp suits, sat in high-backed chairs, their faces a mix of skepticism and deference. Nathan's voice boomed as he pitched his vision for expansion. A bold plan to scale Skyline's clean energy project to new markets, promising returns that glittered like the city below. "This is our moment," he declared, his hands slicing the air for emphasis. "The investors are locked in, the world is watching, and we're unstoppable." His words were a performance, but the room's unease was palpable, stirred by a viral video that had set the internet ablaze. In the corner, Maya Thompson sat quietly, her presence almost ghostly. Introduced as a consultant by a nervous board member, She wore a tailored blazer, her dark eyes scanning the room like a strategist surveying a battlefield. The viral clip of Nathan's snub at the gala looped in her mind. Its hashtag, Who's Maya Thompson, now a wildfire with millions of views. She'd spent days dissecting Skyline's finances, confirming Nathan's unauthorized $1 billion transfer to a Vanity VR project. His arrogance at the gala was no longer just a personal slight. It was a symptom of a deeper recklessness that threatened her $5 billion investment. Her fingers rested on a slim folder, its contents a guillotine waiting to fall. She listened as Nathan dismissed the video's impact, his voice dripping with bravado. "It's a distraction," he said, waving a hand. "Social media noise. Our investors aren't going anywhere." A board member, an older woman with sharp eyes, leaned forward, her voice cutting through Nathan's bluster. "What about the optics, Nathan? That video's raising questions about leadership." The room shifted, eyes darting between Nathan and the table. He laughed, a sound too loud for the moment. "Optics and, it's a misunderstanding. People will forget it by tomorrow." His confidence was a mask, but Maya saw the cracks. She'd seen men like him before, those who mistook charm for invincibility, who assumed their world would bend to their will. Her silence was her weapon, and she wielded it with precision, waiting for the moment to strike. The discussion turned to funding, and a board member raised a question about Eclipse Partners. "Their commitment is critical," he said, glancing at his notes. "Any risks we should know about?" Nathan smirked, leaning back in his chair. "They're solid. No one walks away from a deal this big." The room nodded, reassured, but Maya's pulse quickened. She stood, her movement deliberate, drawing every eye. "Actually," she said, her voice calm but carrying the weight of steel, "there is a risk." The boardroom fell silent, Nathan's grin faltering. She stepped forward, placing her folder on the table with a soft thud. "Eclipse Partners has a clause allowing a full withdrawal of our $5 billion commitment within 48 hours. No penalty due to executive misconduct." The air seemed to vanish from the room. Nathan's eyes narrowed, his confidence giving way to confusion. "Who are you?" he snapped, his voice sharp with irritation, as if her presence was an inconvenience he couldn't place. Maya met his gaze, unflinching, her expression serene but unyielding. "I'm with Eclipse Partners," she said simply, letting the words hang. A board member, the same one who'd introduced her, cleared his throat, his voice low but firm. "She's their lead investor, Nathan, the one funding half of this project." The revelation landed like a thunderclap. Nathan's face froze, his eyes darting between Maya and the folder, the reality sinking in. The board members exchanged stunned glances, their whispers barely audible. Maya's name, unknown to most until now, carried the weight of $5 billion. She opened the folder, revealing a single document, a termination notice, its language stark and final. "Due to leadership behavior undermining the project's integrity, Eclipse Partners is withdrawing its $5 billion commitment, effective immediately," she said, her voice steady, each word a calculated blow. Nathan's mouth opened, but no words came. The boardroom was a tableau of shock, faces pale, pens stilled. Maya closed the folder, her movements deliberate, and stepped back. "You'll receive the formal notice by the end of the day," she added, turning toward the door. Nathan's voice cracked as he called after her. "You can't do this." But she didn't pause, her heels clicking softly on the polished floor as she exited, leaving a silence heavier than any words. Outside, the Chicago skyline loomed, its towers glinting like swords in the sunlight. Maya paused in the hallway, her breath steady, her mind already mapping the next steps. She hadn't come to destroy Skyline. She'd come to protect her vision. Nathan's arrogance had forced her hand, and now the boardroom was a chessboard upended, pieces scattered by her move. The city below thrummed with ambition, unaware of the seismic shift unfolding in its heart. If this moment's got you hooked, smash that subscribe button to catch our latest videos, and drop your city in the comments. Where's this story hitting you? What happens when the tables turn? Stay tuned to see the fallout. The television studio's harsh lights bore down on Nathan Brooks like a spotlight of judgment, exposing the cracks in his once impenetrable facade. Gone was the swaggering CEO of Skyline Innovations, the man who'd commanded boardrooms and gala crowds with a grin as sharp as a blade. Now seated on a sleek set, his tie slightly askew, Nathan faced a national audience, his eyes shadowed with exhaustion. The anchor, a veteran journalist with a piercing gaze, leaned forward, her voice steady but unrelenting. "Mr. Brooks, your dismissal of a key investor at the gala has sparked outrage. The SEC is investigating your financial decisions. What do you say to the millions watching?" Nathan's throat bobbed, his rehearsed charm faltering. "It was a misunderstanding," he said, his voice strained, the words hollow. "I regret any offense caused." The apology landed like a stone in still water, rippling but failing to soothe the storm. Chicago's skyline loomed outside the studio, its towers glinting with the cold indifference of a city that thrived on ambition and punished missteps. The hashtag #RochesterSkyline snub had become a digital guillotine, slicing through Nathan's reputation with every retweet and comment. Social media seethed. Too little, too late. He ignored her and thought he'd get away with it. The public's verdict was merciless, fueled by the viral video of Nathan's gala snub and the whistleblower's leak exposing his $1 billion diversion to an unauthorized VR project. The SEC's investigation was a noose tightening around Skyline's future, and Nathan's televised mea culpa only fanned the flames. Viewers flooded comment sections. "Where's the accountability? Who was that woman he dismissed?" The mystery of Maya Thompson's identity lingered, a question mark that haunted Nathan's unraveling empire. Inside Skyline's glass-walled boardroom, the air was thick with urgency. The board members, once deferential to Nathan's charisma, now sat with grim faces, their laptops open to plummeting stock charts and urgent emails. The $5 billion withdrawal by Eclipse Partners had triggered a cascade. 2 other investors had pulled out, and the stock had cratered 40% in days. A senior board member, a woman with steel gray hair and sharper instincts, slammed her pen on the table. "This isn't just about the video," she said, her voice cutting through the room. "It's about trust. Nathan's decisions, financial and personal, have jeopardized this project." Murmurs of agreement rippled around the table, eyes avoiding Nathan, who stood at the head, his hands gripping the chair for support. The room felt like a courtroom, and he was on trial. The board's decision was swift and brutal. "Nathan, you're stepping down," the chair declared, his tone final. "Effective immediately." Nathan's jaw tightened, his eyes flashing with defiance, but the room offered no reprieve. "You can't do this," he said, his voice low, almost a growl. "This is my company." The chair's gaze was unflinching. "It was, until you gambled it away." The words landed like a gavel, sealing his fate. Nathan's shoulders slumped, the fight draining from him as the reality sank in. The boardroom, once his stage, was now his exile. The clean energy project, the $10 billion dream he'd claimed as his own, lay in tatters, its partners fleeing and its future stalled. Outside, Chicago buzzed with the scandal's fallout. News vans clogged the streets around Skyline's headquarters, reporters shouting questions into cameras. Can Skyline recover from this leadership crisis? What's the truth behind the $5 billion withdrawal? A prominent business journal ran a headline that cut deeper. "Skyline's Fall, a culture of arrogance exposed." The article questioned the company's values, hinting at a pattern of dismissing those who didn't fit its polished image. One anonymous quote, likely from an insider, stung. They ignored the wrong person this time. The city, with its relentless ambition, seemed to watch Nathan's downfall with a mix of fascination and disdain, its skyline a silent witness to the cost of hubris. Nathan retreated to his office, the glass walls now feeling like a cage. He stood by the window, staring at the city he'd once dreamed of conquering. His phone lay silent, no longer buzzing with the adulation of investors or media. The whistleblower's leak, the SEC probe, the board's ultimatum, it was all too much. He replayed the gala in his mind, the moment he'd dismissed the black woman whose name he hadn't bothered to learn. "Who are you?" he'd demanded in the boardroom, only to learn she was the linchpin of his empire. The memory burned, not with anger, but with regret, a rare emotion for a man who'd built his life on certainty. He'd miscalculated, and the price was everything. Across town, Maya Thompson's office remained a haven of calm, her desk a command center of strategy. She hadn't watched Nathan's apology. She didn't need to. Her focus was on the future, on ensuring her $5 billion would find a home worthy of its purpose. The city's lights twinkled beyond her window, a reminder of the communities she'd vowed to serve. Places like the South Side, where dreams were hard-won but resilient. Nathan's fall wasn't her victory. It was a consequence, a clearing of the board for something better. She closed her laptop, her resolve unshaken, ready to move the pieces forward. The city of Chicago, with its towering dreams and unforgiving streets, seemed to pulse with the story's weight. Nathan's empire was crumbling, and the world was watching, demanding answers. The consequences of his actions were no longer whispers. They were headlines, hashtags, and a legacy undone. If this drama's got you gripped, hit that subscribe button to catch our latest videos and drop your city in the comments. Where's this saga reaching you? What's next for a fallen king? Stay tuned to see how the pieces fall. The Chicago skyline shimmered under a late afternoon sun, its towers casting long shadows across a city that thrived on reinvention. In the wake of Skyline Innovation's collapse, a new energy pulsed through the streets, as if the city itself sensed a shift in the tides of power. Maya Thompson stood at the edge of a vibrant launch event, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, her dark eyes scanning the crowd with quiet satisfaction. The venue, a converted warehouse in a revitalized corner of the West Loop, buzzed with anticipation. Banners emblazoned with the Green Horizon logo, a rising sun over a field of turbines, hung proudly, signaling a startup poised to redefine clean energy. Maya had redirected her $5 billion from Skyline's wreckage to this new venture, a bold bet on a team as diverse as the communities they aimed to serve. This was her vision reborn, and the city was watching. The event was a celebration of possibility, filled with young entrepreneurs, community leaders, and reporters eager to capture the moment. Green Horizon's leadership team, a mosaic of talent, Black, Latino, and working-class white founders, stood at the podium, their voices ringing with conviction. Their mission was clear: deliver sustainable energy to low-income neighborhoods, places long overlooked by corporate giants. The crowd erupted in applause as the CEO, a Black woman with a scientist's precision and a preacher's passion, announced a landmark government contract worth $2 billion to power underserved communities across the Midwest. "This is about equity," she declared, her words echoing through the warehouse. "Energy isn't a luxury, it's a right." Maya, standing near the back, allowed herself a faint smile. This was why she'd walked away from Skyline, to build something that mattered. The media swarmed, their cameras flashing as they praised Green Horizon's inclusive vision. A prominent news outlet ran a headline that captured the moment: "Green Horizon lights the way for equitable energy innovation." Another called it, "The future Skyline could have been." The contrast was stark. Where Skyline had faltered under arrogance, Green Horizon thrived on collaboration. Maya's role as the lead investor was mentioned only in passing, her name a whisper in the fine print. She preferred it that way. Her office, a modest space miles from the event, remained her sanctuary, its single fern and polished desk, a testament to her belief that power didn't need fanfare. She'd redirected her $5 billion not for glory but for impact, ensuring her capital served the communities she'd always championed. Back at the event, Maya moved through the crowd, her sapphire blazer blending into the sea of attendees. A young entrepreneur, barely out of college, approached her, his eyes wide with admiration. "I heard you're the one who made this happen," he said, his voice tinged with awe. Maya's smile was warm but deflecting. "It's the team's work," she replied, nodding toward the podium. "They're the ones building the future." She spent the evening mentoring, offering quiet advice to startups, pitching ideas for solar grids and community energy co-ops. Her words were precise, her insights sharp, drawn from years of navigating a world that often underestimated her. She'd grown up in Chicago's South Side, where dreams were hard-won, and her mother's lessons about numbers and resilience still guided her. This was her legacy, not headlines but progress. Social media, once a battleground for our year's Skyline snub, had transformed into a chorus of admiration. The hashtag #WhoIsMayaThompson now carried a different tone, with posts celebrating her as a game changer. She didn't just pull $5 billion, she rebuilt an industry. This is what power looks like. One user wrote, "She's the hero we didn't know we needed." Yet not all voices were kind. A stray comment buried in the noise sneered, "She's just riding the woke wave." The jab, laced with dismissal, echoed the slights Maya had faced her entire career. She saw it on her phone, her expression unchanging, and swiped it away. She'd learned long ago to let her actions drown out the noise. Reporters clamored for interviews, their microphones thrusting toward her as she left the event. "Ms. Thompson, are you the mastermind behind Green Horizon?" one asked, her voice eager. Maya paused, her gaze steady. "I'm just an investor," she said, her tone polite but final. "The real story is up there," she added, gesturing toward the Green Horizon team, who were still fielding questions from the crowd. She slipped into the evening, the city's lights wrapping around her like a cloak. The refusal to take the spotlight wasn't humility, it was strategy. Maya knew the power of staying unseen, letting her work speak louder than any headline. The government contract, the media praise, the community focus, it was all proof that her $5 billion had found its true home. Chicago's streets thrummed with the energy of a city that rewarded those who dared to dream big. The warehouse event, with its music and laughter, was a beacon of what was possible when vision trumped ego. Maya walked away, her heels clicking softly on the pavement, her mind already turning to the next move. She'd given Green Horizon the foundation to soar, but her work wasn't done. There were more startups to nurture, more communities to uplift, more battles to fight in the quiet ways she'd mastered. The skyline glittered behind her, each tower a testament to ambition, but also a reminder of the cost of arrogance, a lesson Nathan Brooks had learned too late. The city seemed to breathe with her, its pulse steady and unyielding. Green Horizon's success was more than a business triumph. It was a statement, a reclamation of the promise Skyline had squandered. Maya's role, though hidden, was the spark that had ignited this new beginning. She didn't need the world to know her name. She needed it to feel her impact. As the event's lights faded behind her, the future stretched out, bright and boundless. If this story's lighting a fire in you, smash that subscribe button to catch our latest videos and drop your city in the comments. Where's this saga reaching you? What's next for this unstoppable force? Keep watching to see how this new dawn unfolds. The Chicago skyline glowed under the amber hue of dusk, its towers standing like sentinels over a city that never stopped dreaming. In a quiet park tucked away from the bustle, Maya Thompson walked alone, her steps measured, her breath mingling with the cool evening air. The crunch of gravel beneath her shoes was a steady rhythm, grounding her as she traced the path through ancient oaks and fading light. Her sapphire coat caught the breeze, a quiet contrast to the city's relentless energy. This was her moment of pause, a rare breath to reflect on a journey that had upended an empire and birthed a new one. Maya's dark eyes, sharp with the weight of experience, scanned the horizon. She wasn't here to bask in victory. She was here to carry it forward, her legacy woven into the fabric of a city that thrived on reinvention. The chaos of Skyline Innovation's fall was now a fading echo, its once glittering promise reduced to headlines and hashtags. Nathan Brooks, the CEO who dismissed her with a smirk, had vanished from the spotlight. His final interview, a desperate attempt to salvage his reputation, had been a flop, a stammered apology drowned out by public scorn. "I didn't know who she was," he'd said, his voice hollow, his eyes avoiding the camera. The admission was too late, his career a casualty of his arrogance. Social media, once ablaze with Thorshash's Skyline snub, had moved on, relegating Nathan to obscurity. Posts now mocked his downfall. Guess he learned not to ignore the wrong person. Another, crueler, sneered. Just another suit who thought he was untouchable. Chicago, with its unforgiving pulse, had no patience for fallen kings. Across town, in a dimly lit co-working space in Englewood, Maya sat with a young entrepreneur named Jamal Carter, a 22-year-old from the South Side with a spark in his eyes and a notebook full of ideas. His startup, Solar Roots, aimed to install solar panels in community gardens, powering local businesses and homes. Maya leaned over his sketches, her finger tracing a diagram of a modular panel system. "This is solid," she said, her voice steady but warm. "But you'll need to factor in maintenance costs for the long term. Communities like ours can't afford downtime." Jamal nodded, scribbling notes, his admiration for her palpable. He'd heard the whispers about Makon, who was Maya Thompson, the woman who'd toppled Skyline, but to him she was more than a headline. She was proof that someone from his neighborhood could change the world. "I don't know how you do it," Jamal said, shaking his head. "Stay out of the spotlight and still make things happen." Maya's smile was faint but genuine. "It's not about being seen," she said. "It's about building something that lasts." She shared a story from her early days when a venture capitalist had dismissed her pitch as too niche for focusing on underserved communities. "I proved him wrong by doing the work," she said. "You will too." Jamal's eyes lit up, his resolve strengthened. Maya handed him a card with her assistant's contact information. "Send me your revised budget by Friday. We'll talk funding." As she left, she felt the weight of her role, not as a savior, but as a catalyst, lighting the way for others to shine. The next morning, Maya visited a community center in Bronzeville, one of Green Horizons' first projects. The building, once a crumbling relic, now hummed with life, its roof lined with sleek solar panels that powered everything from computer labs to after-school programs. Children laughed in a brightly lit room, their voices mingling with the hum of a 3D printer crafting parts for a science project. The center's director, a woman named Aisha with a warm smile and a no-nonsense demeanor, greeted Maya with a hug. "This place is alive because of you," Aisha said, gesturing to the bustling space. Maya shook her head. "It's because of you," she replied. "I just provided the spark." Aisha showed her the numbers. Energy costs down 70%, with savings redirected to scholarships and job training. Outside, a mural depicted a sun rising over a field of turbines, the Green Horizon logo tucked subtly in the corner. Maya touched the wall, her fingers tracing the vibrant colors, a quiet pride in her chest. The city's media had taken notice, with outlets hailing Green Horizon as a model of equitable innovation. A feature in the Chicago Tribune read, "Green Horizon's success lies in its roots. Diverse leadership, community focus, and a vision that prioritizes impact over ego." Maya's name appeared only once, as a key investor with a low profile and high influence. She preferred it that way. Her office, with its lone fern and polished desk, remained her command center, where she reviewed proposals from startups across the Midwest. Her latest project was a mentorship program for young women of color in STEM, a quiet initiative that was already producing results. One of her mentees had just won a National Engineering Award. Meanwhile, Nathan Brooks was attempting a comeback, launching a small consulting firm in a nondescript office park outside Chicago. His LinkedIn posts, carefully worded to Project Humility, spoke of lessons learned and new beginnings. But the city wasn't forgiving. At a local business mixer, he faced polite nods and sidelong glances, his once magnetic charm now a shadow. "I misjudged her," he admitted to a former colleague over coffee, his voice low. "I thought I was untouchable." The colleague, a grizzled investor, shrugged. "Chicago doesn't forget," he said. "You ignored the wrong person." Nathan's eyes drifted to the skyline, visible through the cafe window, a reminder of the empire he'd lost. His regret was genuine, but the city had moved on, its pulse now tied to visionaries like Maya. At a community forum in Austin, Maya addressed a small group of local leaders, her presence commanding yet understated. The topic was energy equity, and she spoke with precision, outlining Green Horizons' plans to expand to rural areas. "Power isn't just electricity," she said, her voice carrying the weight of her journey. "It's opportunity, access, dignity." The audience, a mix of activists and small business owners, hung on her words. One woman, a single mother who'd benefited from Green Horizons job training, stood to thank her. "You're giving us a future," she said, her voice breaking. Maya met her gaze, her nod a silent promise to keep going. Later, as she left the forum, a reporter caught her off guard. "Ms. Thompson, are you planning to take on more giants like Skyline?" Maya's smile was enigmatic. "I'm planning to build," she said. That's enough. Social media continued to buzz, with Kanashiguru, who is Maya Thompson, evolving into a celebration of unsung heroes. She's proof you don't need a spotlight to change the game. One post read, garnering thousands of likes. Another from a young engineer declared, Maya Thompson is my role model. Quiet power, real impact. The occasional jab, she's overhyped, just a lucky investor, was drowned out by the chorus of support. Maya scrolled through the posts on her phone, her expression neutral. She'd long since learned to let her work answer the critics. Her latest move was a $50 million seed fund for minority-led startups, announced quietly through Eclipse Partners. The first recipient, a Latina founder with a wind energy prototype, called Maya a force of nature. Maya, true to form, redirected the praise. You're the force, I'm just the wind. Chicago's streets thrummed with the energy of reinvention, its skyline a mosaic of dreams and consequences. Green Horizons turbines were now a common sight in neighborhoods once plagued by outages, their sleek blades spinning stories of progress. A local school, powered by Green Horizon, hosted a science fair where kids showcased solar-powered models, their faces bright with pride. Maya, attending as a guest judge, listened as a 12-year-old girl explained her project, a miniature grid for disaster relief. I want to be like you, the girl said shyly. Maya knelt to her level, her voice soft. Be better than me, she said. The world needs you. The girl's smile was a spark, a glimpse of the future Maya was building. Nathan's name surfaced occasionally, a footnote in articles about corporate failures. A blog post titled The Fall of Skyline, A Lesson in Hubris, detailed his missteps, quoting an anonymous source. He didn't see her coming, and that was his downfall. Nathan read it in his sparse office, his jaw tight. He'd started volunteering at a community center, teaching financial literacy to atone for his past. The work was humbling, but the kids' questions were blunt. Did you think you could ignore her? He had no answer, only a nod, his eyes on the skyline that no longer welcomed him. The narrator's voice, warm and resonant, cut through the scene as Maya stood by the lakefront, the city's towers reflecting on the water. In a world chasing loud victories, Maya Thompson proved that true power doesn't need a spotlight. Respect isn't optional. It's the foundation of progress. The city's pulse seemed to sync with her steps, its energy a reflection of her unwavering resolve. Nathan's fall was a cautionary tale, a reminder that arrogance could topple empires. Green Horizons' rise was Maya's answer, a legacy built not on fame but on impact. The park faded behind her, the skyline glowing brighter as night fell, each light a story of ambition and consequence. Maya paused by the water, her reflection rippling in the waves. She thought of her mother, who taught her to read the world like a balance sheet, and of the South Side, where dreams were forged in struggle. Green Horizon wasn't just a company, it was a promise kept, to her community, to her younger self, to a city that deserved better. Her phone buzzed with a message from Jamal. Budget's ready, can we meet? She smiled, typing a quick reply. The work continued, not in boardrooms or galas, but in the quiet moments where change took root. Chicago, with its relentless ambition and unforgiving heart, seemed to breathe with her. The skyline, a testament to those who dared to build, stood as her backdrop, not as a trophy, but as a challenge. Maya's legacy was in the turbines, the community centers, and the young dreamers she mentored. She didn't need the world to know her name. She needed it to feel her impact. As the city's lights danced on the water, she walked on, her steps steady, her eyes on the horizon. The future was hers to shape, one quiet move at a time. If this tale's got you hooked, smash that subscribe button to catch our latest videos and drop your city in the comments. Where's this story reaching you? Who's the unsung hero in your world? Stay tuned for more stories of power and purpose. As the Chicago skyline fades and Maya Thompson's silent legacy shines, we hope this tale of power, respect, and redemption has sparked something in you. What did you take away from this story? Who's the unsung hero in your life, quietly shaping the world like Maya? Drop your thoughts in your city in the comments. We'd love to hear how this saga resonated with you. Your support keeps these stories alive, So hit that subscribe button to catch our next journey into ambition and consequence. A huge thank you for joining us on this ride through Chicago's heart, where every choice echoes and every voice matters. Until next time, keep chasing what's real and stay tuned for more tales that challenge, inspire, and redefine power. See you in the next video.